Yeah, on that exact note and spirit, I just wanted to remind everyone that thank you for being here live. Thank you for being here online. We're all just friends that want to hear that voice one more time, see that face one more time. There are decades and decades of friendship in this room. There are decades and decades of friendships streaming online right now, and we just wanted to have this moment so that we can remember why Sikhasa family Bulali on Friday. I'm not a man of many words. That's why I have a brother like Tulu. Yeah, we wanted to keep it light, to keep it about Daz, about Daz Man, Daz Inc., Daz and Dog. And with that said, there's no greater honor to our friends' memories than Jerry. So I'd like to call you up, Jerry. Jero. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for everyone who made it today. My name is Bulali Dazana. I grew up with Bulali for a couple of years and just wanted to share a couple of words, just my experience with him. And yeah. So I think the story I'd like to tell today is of a very close friend of mine that was really my best friend. And I'll just walk you through a couple of memories that we shared through life and some of the events that happened through it all. So how do I know Bulali? Well, I probably met Bulali for the first time probably in 92, 93, when we were all in primary school. There was a picture there of International. So we were the class of 87. And we all started off, we all first met in Tara International with the likes of Oti, Nambulelo, Anda, Wanda, Ayanda, Ovisanan, Sbapi, all the time, just to name a few people that we knew at the time. So Bulali lived initially in Blackway, Mtat. And I think one of the nice things about always going to Bulali's house was that they owned a wimpy. So when you own a wimpy, and a couple of other friends that he met there, and I was at the college in King. And I guess the nice thing about that is that even though we're at different schools at this time, is that Susbanis to Banogu Greyhound during those off weekends and always be catching up. I think over that time we also built up a lot of rivalry because now we were playing rugby against each other. And that was actually pretty nice because it was very challenging and always just like always that certain level of competition between each other. I know Jam was always like crossed fields against each other in those times. So Bulali played center, really good, like I would say like really good hands, quick of pace. So we also shared that like playing rugby with each other and like guys are nervous. So it was a really good rugby player, a bit of a sidestep. I remember one specific game that we played against each other, and I was captaining, so I had something to prove. So it did. So look, but I had something to prove that day, and I was captaining. So, and then it was an open field play where I come out, I'm leading the team, pass the ball left, get a very bad tackle from a close friend of mine, dislocate my shoulder. And obviously the pain of dislocating your shoulder is pretty intense. All I hear is Lindsay, they pie. I think we lost that game. So that was a bit of sort of high school in itself. So that was nice that we got to share those like sort of experiences and like growing up with each other. And I guess the next stage of that was everyone going to university. So Bulali ended up attending WITS at the time to do his law degree and UCT. So even throughout those times, obviously, like, we sort of kept in contact with each other and like would always just check, hey, how's your first year going, you know, type thing. I think then that was the stage in time where he sort of developed a mental illness, you know. He got bipolar at the time, which kind of really deteriorated or derailed his academic and social life for a bit, while all the rest of us were like continuing with our lives. And I would think for a person, when something like that happens, especially when you grow up, it would really take you back, which I think it did. I think one of the main lessons I learned from just his growth from that is just the level of resilience, grit, and just the mindset of just never giving up, all of that. I think the last time I spoke with Bulali was about 2 weeks ago, and when he was in Joburg helping his sister move to a new house. He called me on Wednesday just to like, hey, Joburg. That's what Bulali always does anyway. He doesn't tell you about years, but skip and I'm like, yes, like, you know. And in that conversation, very brief for an hour, we just chatted about, he's just finished his law degree. He's on his journey to do his pupillage, to become an attorney, I think. Was like, so there were plans, there was goals, there was drive, you know, and like all planned with all the things that might have derailed him in the back, but he just chose the way forward and was pushing that. So it really saddened me, I think, hearing about what happened. I think it saddened all of us here. And I guess maybe that's just how life goes, you know? So who is this guy? Some might have called him strong-headed. I would say he was just someone who stood for what he believed in. When he cared, he really cared for the ones that he loved. And he touched so many with all these different views, knowledge of law, and just believe in life, and really pushing for what's right and wrong, or against what's wrong. So I think, just in closing, from my side, we're a sad day, but I feel like we have to celebrate today, celebrate the man that he is, and just the imparting of the knowledge and growth that he's just left for us. And I think we will always miss you, and yeah. Thank you, guys.
You know, what can you say? You know, the one thing that always rings true with all of us is how driven this guy was. I remember in our mid-20s, before it was even trending, this guy's already doing 10, 15 Ks because corporately that's just what you have to be into. And yeah, Jerry, like, you're right, man. Even natural circumstance wasn't going to stop. Say whatever you want about him being, you know, quite blunt, but he was also blunt on himself. And he really understood what it took to get to the next level, to correct whatever he needed to correct, and to push himself. And there's no one who really understood that more than a young man that went from barely running 200 meters to just recently finishing off his first half marathon. I know you've got another speech, Jam, but we'd love to steal you just for 10 seconds. If perhaps you also then, while you're here, have someone that you want to, you know, to represent you. Naya, I hope they're waiting.
Hi guys. As Murezi said, my name is Sihle Jam Jam. Before I start, I'd like to say what I probably think Bulali would have said. Mr. Jam Jam, don't embarrass me now. So with that said, hopefully I don't embarrass you, my friend. You know, the funny part about this guy, the first time we met, if I give the background story of how I got to get to Grey, was through me manipulating the system of wanted me to go to St. Andrews. They wanted me to go to other certain schools, but I manipulated the thing because I saw on a Saturday rugby at Grey and I wanted to go. So that was done. I manipulated. I won't bore you with the nitty-gritties. But at the school I was at, after I manipulated the situation and I knew I was going to Grey, funny enough, the primary school I was at, I think it was about a week later, I ended up playing Grey Primary in cricket. So I got dropped because of, as Bulali would always call me, a rebel without a cause. I got dropped because of those reasons. And so I get there, and this was one of Bulali's favorites, to blow out my hair. My parents, my mom used to, SKL until So I get to this cricket pitch, and we're going to play these guys, and one of our friends who's not here will be at the funeral. Bubbles is also there, and they have an interesting cricket bat. So I asked to just check it out, because I'm trying to look professional, trying to look the part. So, well, and then I give it back. I give back the bat, and then Bubbles goes, and saying this to Bulali. So I turn around and I go, dude, I might look like a colored, but I'm not. and that was that for the year. That was that for the year. And funny enough, lo and behold, get to Grey in grade 8, and Bulali goes, hey, I might look like a colored, but I'm not. So he remembered me all this time. And, we just, after that, we just clicked. Little did we know that our families had known each other since 19 whatever. And just budding relationship that happened. And a lot of laughs at your expense sometimes. Because Bulali guy decided by he flop, he will make sure for the next 2 months. Mr. Jamjam, how are you doing? I still remember the one time, Lungi will remember this correctly. While you're still young, you have a sister's Valentine's notes and all that, and somehow, I tried to keep this a secret, but somehow Bulali found out that I sent a note to a girl at collegiate. And obviously what construed was that the girl didn't respond back to the message. So Mr. Dazana, does he not come to me? There was a song by 50 Cent. I forgot the song, Lungi, maybe you might mind me. But the line was, if I wrote you a love letter, would you write back? So the whole time in the corridors, even if we don't have classes together, would he not walk past the corridors? If I wrote you a love letter, wouldn't you write back? Nope! Someone Bulali, I mean, mine and his characters are big. Some might even call Bulali a maverick. Those who don't call him a maverick are sadly mistaken, because he was a maverick. And to an extent, we always had a personality clash, because it was always the two big guys in the room, and it was just, I don't know, not to get emotional, but our friendship was almost like two sibling rivalries, because we loved everything that we did. So there was that bit of rivalry, and there was a bit of the tension here and there, and we'd spend some time. Sometimes I think the last one, Lungi, was not a full year, me and him not speaking. Yeah, it was over a year, and we don't always remember what the clash is, because automatically what happens is, Mr. Jamja, I just saw you drive past. when we're playing golf. And that was the mark of the man. I mean, if you cannot love that man, then you were missing out, because this man was pure to the core. This man he would laugh at your expense, but at the same time be in your corner to help you in that situation, whatever that situation is. And then at the end when it's all sorted out, yeah, Jam, mustard. We have some China. And they didn't see anybody come. So, guys, thank you for coming here. Thank you for this, to try and give life to a life that was. And that was absolutely great. I don't think I have any more words, otherwise I might overuse them and I might get emotional, and Bulali would obviously say, Mr. Jamja, flop. So I won't get to that level. My wife has already seen me already flop, so I won't get to that level. I think the rightful person, the next person that should come up, to be honest with you, is the person that he had a whale of a time making fun of him in high school. I think we all had, but he's always been our dear friend. That's next. Lungi, I think maybe you should come through.
Good evening to everyone. I don't know, I'm usually very good when it comes to speaking at weddings, speaking at wherever, but I just don't know what to make of this. I've never spoken at a memorial, I've never spoken at a funeral. And I think for me this thing of Ut has really hit me hard. I think it hit all of us hard, because I keep saying when I speak to Abanda, I say, I think thus far I've been really, really, really privileged. We've been privileged that we've been privileged in such a way that we haven't lost anyone close to us. Yes, you'll have your family members, but like when I say close to us, I speak about people who are close to home. Your adopted family, if you should say it. So yeah, it's just been difficult with Daz. We met in high school. I think we met, in fact, we've got a 21-year friendship that we've engaged. Obviously, we gave friendship there. Daz, like in the situation, like we will sit in the situation, Daz is just one person who just never forgets. You just need to do one thing that's wrong with Utez. And the beauty about Utez is that you see him smiling. It seems like, oh, I think, and you're like, oh shit, here I get it, right? And so this one time, really, like, so I decided, like, we're like, so like, you know what, like, the one thing that we did, unfortunately, I've got my own reservations with the Grey, but it would be 150 something boys, and out of that 150 something boys, you find there's 20 in terms of blacks, whites, and coloreds. So something natural and strange that happened, like, is that, well, we knew we were a small number, but we ended up being close as people of color, and you'd find that for some reason we'd become friends with the guys who are older and the guys who are younger. So we just built that unit. So Utez would, like, I figured, hey, Chad, let's talk about this. What do you want to talk about next, right? China, what we're about to do right now is take this back. way back. So like, Dad's guy, he won't tell you exactly what's the issue there. So he'll go, I can go see it, and I'll see it. See it like an Irish, so this is the cool thing I forgot. Hey, lousy dog, what's going on there? Way back in time.
We set our goals without being in competition with us, you know. And it's not just with the Jets. This Rakani was always able to just to reach out across genders and to make genuine friendships across the line. And you know, that's why we had to echo. We have to call you Akona, otherwise Salapan will be sad. And we have every right to, but we're also here to remember our friend. And we're here to remember your friend. So everyone, please welcome Akona, please.
Thanks, Missy. Thank you for not being sexist. Guys, wow, I'm like, I can't, I'm sorry, with my brother, someone that I instantly got, I just got this connection with on our first day when we met. So I was trying, and I walked in there and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here because I am pathetic with numbers. And then the figure lecture. But anyway, that was my friend. He was super intelligent, great with numbers. I copied all his stats, and yeah, but I can say that I only lasted half a semester in accounting. Yeah, and so the one time Bulali came to my flat, and we were just having lunch, and Bulali, the jokester, he is cracking jokes all the time, and then he misplaced his phone. So he says to me, Akona, please don't buzz it because I'm on phone. I'm like, sure, okay. So then, like, I'm in the kitchen and I'm looking for his phone, and there's the phone on the kitchen counter, and I see my name, and then he saved me as Kingswood Coconuts. I was like, why do you call me Kingswood Coconuts? He's like, don't you know that's what we all call you? I'm like, wow. And then I'm like, wow. And he's like, but this is the thing about Bulali. So I used to take offense to his just honesty and just him being brutal all the time. And he said, no, but Akona, you are a coconut. I was tutor. And then I was like, oh wow. He's like, I was tooting, oh, my man. So I'm like, oh, I actually don't know anything. So he's like, no, dude, no, you were trying to assimilate way too hard and you need to get back to your roots. And yeah, and he's just been that friend who's been on that journey of helping me get back to my roots and finding myself, and a dear brother that I will always love. Okay, I think I'm going to stop now. Thank you.
Hey, well done. And you should have cried so that other people know that it's okay to cry here. Yo, guys. Actually, you know, there's so many stories. There's so many stories in this room. There's so many stories online, man. Our friends are all trickling in, and we're not the age that is ready and prepared to fly in for a funeral. So understand that Sibambalo Apa, we're actually a lot. We're many, and we're many people who love this man. Yo, this guy, like, I don't know how many deep conversations, meaningful conversations I had with the people online, with the people in this room, with with just his honesty. I was an olela because I just met you, but you meant like everyone here. You meant so much to our friend, and nobody wanted to afterwards ask you to open up our open mic part and just come say a few words about your friend, about our friend, and then allow others to also be vulnerable up here, because that's what we are. That's what happens down in Napa. You're vulnerable, right, guys? You are exposed, and nothing's exposed us more than this. Can everyone just give a round of applause and lift up your time?
We met Bulali. Oh my God. Okay, obviously we go out to the club and stuff. Like, I think what your mother called at Upper Couch. Like that. And he took us home, but the whole time, like, he's the one, like, who's talking and, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say about him. But then after that, obviously we formed a friendship. And then we were always, like, at his place, like, going to the, like, Solas Dibana. He always wanted people around, and he was very kind. Obviously, we all miss him.
It's okay. Guys, I really don't want to wrap this up. I really think that we should give others a chance to hear why our friend was so special to us, and for you to be on record, because Aunt Dombi's, you know, she loved hearing about her son. She appreciated and learned a lot from the relationships that are in this room, and learned a lot about her own progeny. So, and they just need to be reminded about some great stories with this guy. So, before we close things here, I'd love for one or two more people to just come up. And Gababoni, but be it, I would have loved for Butobani to come here, but he's got some great words that he's saving for Friday. For Usman Wake, for his golf buddy. And
He's Joburg golf buddy.
he's Joe.
I don't actually remember the first time I met Bulali. I just remember that there was a really built lad who was Moise's friend, who a couple of guys in the room, Bose as well. We all met through a team at Wits called Masakane. And I think had taken over, and I was pretending to know and coach, but actually mostly letting them, mostly letting the boys play. So Atikumwesi with this guy who certainly looked the part, and thankfully, but what I was most surprised by, and very pleasantly, is I didn't connect with Bulali very much early on, but much later, I was very surprised at how deep a thinker Ngoba was. And I guess that's probably the kind of thing you're not going to discern about someone very early on in your interactions. We have a WhatsApp group that is titled BAR, which stands for Burn After Reading, where and it has an automatic delete after a particular time, because it's a safe space and people can talk. Yes, but it will be erased. And Bulali, it was probably because Mozi added him to that group. I mean, it's many years old now, and it's, I think, initially through that group that I got just how strong this guy's opinions were, and how well put together they were as well. It's one thing to have strong opinions, but you know, what is the for his opinions? I'd found out quite soon, I suppose, after meeting Bulali, that he was Esetu's sister. I mean, Esetu's sister. Esetu was his sister, and because Esetu and I Sizinta, so I was obviously much closer to Esetu. But over time, especially when I spent time here in East London in 2016, I was in East London for a few months in 2016, and Bulali and I, got to really bond during that time. And I'm to that I'm close kuye ngaphezu koSethu is then Bulali, because I really appreciated two things about Unguba. Unguba had very strong opinions, and ordinarily abantu who have strong opinions don't like to be wrong, and I suppose nobody likes to be wrong. But Unguba was also open to having his mind changed if you were able to present a strong enough opinion or strong enough arguments. And it's actually a very rare trait. It's the trait of someone who is not constrained by ego. I learned in that group and subsequent interactions, and Twitter actually, but the worst thing, and it has been confirmed today, the worst thing you can do is make a mistake and misstep in front of Uber, because I need to Lansing. My goodness. Especially in an argument, because now you may have made the entire thing is now a house of cards, and you have additional strong arguments. It's a mandibuela bar. No, but the entire thing is rubbish. So you needed to be very careful when you engage with Kuba, because he is, and he made us who is both renowned for being really blunt, is also someone abantu babethanda usondeza kuye, because you knew you were going to get the truth from him. So to all his friends and family, this is a massive loss. Words fail, Yan, to express the extent to which I think all of our lives have been altered by this loss. But at the same time, So, as much as we mourn an extraordinary tragedy, what a man. What a man.
It's understandable that no one else wants to really come up here. On the technical side, for Ndibali, ESCOM and load shedding, but he's assured us, and we will follow up, he's assured us that themes that we've had to share, we will compile it and put something together for the family.
I've prepared something for Friday.
Yes, you did.
As you know, I was on my way to Mthatha. I just landed now, and you convinced me to come here. And because you successfully convinced me to come here, I have to say something. Just on behalf, of course, of the family, the Dazana family, Onyuba, and the Kamule family, Otomini. These are the people who are the family tree to Bulls. The genes that Bulls carry, they come from these two families. And Bulls have been very fortunate that he had all the love around him. The Dazana family is huge. Angule family is double the size of the Dazana family. So you'll imagine, you know, the cousins, you know, Omalume, the relatives, you know, that Bulls had, the networks that Bulls had an opportunity to tap into. His balance sheet was quite strong. He had more assets than liabilities because of quality of the networks, the relationships that Bulls had around him. I think it's a great opportunity for me to be here, as Bulls was not just my father. Bulls was my younger brother. That's the kind of relationship that I had with Bulls. It is not a traditional kind of a Sibari relationship. It is a brotherly relationship. It was a friendship. Very deep relationship that I've established with Bulls. Of course, because of my love for the sisters, visit. So I think when we really heard about the passing away of Bulls, we were all shattered. And we were in Joburg at the time. Umama was visiting, and he was attending a family wedding, and she couldn't attend. We said we just prepared in the morning, in makeup, and Mama was ready to go and attend the wedding. But we had to cancel all those plans. So imagine them Naga as the only man having to deliver the bad news to two women. You know, so you imagine that I had to keep the news to myself to gain some strength before I was able to tell them. And I want to acknowledge again the presence, especially from Dala, Mr. Gomi, you know, who is a friend, a colleague who served in the same board of the Post Bank. So he came here just to be present, because he also know the relationship that I had no Bulls. And it was great for me to be here. It also gave me a context with my speech for Friday. Gave me a different perspective from the friends that will help me also to spice, my message, as I'll be talking on behalf of my family, Omangcobo, and of course, my brother and a friend, Upos. That Upos was my golf partner in Joburg. Of course, I moved to Joburg in 2014, so I've been a Joburg person. I left Eastern Cape in 2014, so I've always been a Joburg person. So my home is Joburg. Was originally I come from here. So the relationships that I have, I enjoy it. And I was looking forward to play golf with Nago Boy, Bulls, Joburg. Yeah. So I agree with you. And the Bulls had plans about December. But this is our Dala up at the moment. I've only played Economic.
Yes.
So I've not experienced the golf courses around here. So Bulls, the best in the lineup. So I was gonna play with you. So we've been in the lineup for December that we're gonna be playing here. And the plan was to come here mid, December, then be here. It's a family tradition that we will come. So really, I just want to say on behalf of the family, thank you. Mwezi. Thank you. Sister, since this started, since we had the news, I've been on the phone with you. Another day, you were having live. No, sorry, go ahead. So we can't have our family time. There's this demanding, it's always on the phone. See if I can do this. See if I can rush there, See if I can go to Imo Bulls, get some stuff that we need. See if I can do that, I think it's been great, thank you. Imagine us being there and trying to figure out what is happening. Us trying to figure out hey, Bulls. Because we last spoke to Bulls on a Thursday and we couldn't get Bulls on the phone until the next day around 12 or midday. So imagine, Mama Engeko, Apa, Mama, as a Joburg. And you imagine Mama, because he's got the networks here, he's worked here, he's been a doctor, calling all the hospitals. There's no hospital that Mama didn't call on that day, trying to track down Bulls from Thursday afternoon until, we got to know Bulls is no more. So, Sister, thanks a lot, man. You really helped us big time to be able to locate and trace Bulls. And at least SARS is a family what is happening. Just to close in terms of the announcement, Bulls Ngogo is resting in Tata. Funeral will be on Friday. The plan ukuthatha umzimba wakhe at 6 a.m. in the morning kwaGwiliza, where Ubull is resting. On Friday 6 a.m. in the morning to eNgcolosi. Then sifike ke eNgcolosi, family does the rituals. Then from there, siyombeka kwindawo yakhe yokuphumla. That should be around 7 and do whatever that needs to be done, a small church service corner. Then we start with the official program at 9 o'clock. Everything is awenziwa in one place. So away and everything else. So everything is in one place. So that's basically the plan for Friday. So yeah, as I've mentioned, Morgan or Teta on Friday is just to thank you and just to give you a sense of what's the plan going forward. I thank you.